next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
And he's here, Hornell Mayor John Buckley in the studio this morning. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning, Brian. It's great to be here once again.
So much going on in the news. Let's start out with local. The Hometown Hero program. Tell us about that.
Well, the Hometown Hero program is something I've been working on for about the past 6 months or so. And, a lot of our neighboring municipalities, towns and villages have the program already in place. And, I thought it was time for Hornell to get on board and do the same thing and, to honor our heroes and veterans and, the men and women who serve in the United States military to protect our freedoms and liberties. And so, when I came into office, I made that one of my priorities, and I tried to keep it, hush-hush for a while until we had the program ready and we were ready to unveil it. So we did unveil it on Veterans Day down on the Broadway Mall at the VFW ceremony. So we're happy to have that in place. We're taking applications. We have the forms available at City Hall. This week we'll actually be distributing forms to the VFW, to Hornell AmVets, and the Hornell American Legion. So we'll have the applications at all four places for people to pick up and fill out. So the goal is to have the applications and the photos submitted to City Hall. Then we'll pass them on to the company who produces the banners, and then this coming spring we'll have those banners in place, hanging on the poles lining city streets by Memorial Day. So it's going well so far. We've had a handful of people come in and fill them out. So I think it's a great program and a great way to recognize the people that really risk everything to protect our way of life.
Sounds great. Mayor Buckley, you've got the Christmas parade and the tree lighting all coming up. Do you have a date for that?
Yes, it's actually on the 30th, so it's the last day of the month. It's Friday, November 30th. We've got the Christmas parade. That'll start in the parking lot on Center Street across from the YMCA, and anyone can join in with the parade, and the parade will go from the Center Street down to Main Street, down to where the tree is across from City Hall. And lineup is at 5:30 on the 30th, and the parade will start at 6. And following the parade, we'll have the tree lighting ceremony, and the tree should be going up in the next couple of days here. And after the tree lighting ceremony, we're going to have Santa Claus, and we've got some surprises this year. So we're really stepping up our holiday and Christmas efforts this year. Main Street, if you drive down Main Street, you'll notice the DPW's working hard, stringing lights in all the trees. So it's going to look really nice. And we've got one big surprise coming on the 30th, and we'll unveil that as we get a little bit closer.
Railhead, Industrial Development Agency news. Railhead Brewery, I could call them Railhead Pizza. They have a good slice there.
Oh, they have great pizza.
Those little mini oven pizzas. Let's see. The Railhead Brewery is expanding into New Life Printer's old building there.
Yeah, so Railhead's they've been doing very well for themselves, and what they want to do is they want to try to get in production and try to get penetration into grocery stores and restaurants, and in order to do so, they need to expand because I think they basically have outgrown their facility that they're in now. So the IDA did what they always do. They step in, they try to help local businesses grow and prosper. So the IDA partnered with Railhead and acquired that building, and Railhead is going to move in there and expand their production and their production capabilities. So I think that's going to be a win-win. Ultimately, I think they want to try to get a rail car placed in between their existing building and the new building and use that for dining. And as you referenced a moment ago, Brian, they do have excellent pizza. People go there. It's not just for their for their craft beers, but their pizza. It's
great atmosphere, great weekend place there.
It is, and you drive by when when they're open, and it's always a packed house and with cars lining the street and the parking lot. So it's a great place, and it's a great draw for not just the locals, but from people out of town too. I've had meetings actually where someone will say, "Hey, let's go out for a dinner, grab a drink or something." I said, "Oh, I know a great place over on Park Drive called Railhead, so meet me there." And it's a fantastic place where the IDA, we're happy to partner with them and help them grow.
Talking with Hornell Mayor John Buckley this morning. Now, City Hall question. We learned this, a couple of meetings ago, that the state is hoping to put in a mandate where everybody goes to the county jail for an arraignment, even the smaller crimes, which normally would stay in a municipality, city, town, village. I remember Joe Pelch saying at that meeting that, hey, if the state wants it, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. What's the latest there?
Well, so you're referencing the central arraignment plan, and which basically came from a lawsuit. A lot of these arraignments that happen, especially on weekends, holidays, in the middle of the night, the person being arraigned just goes before the judge, and it's just a preliminary step. And the judge either lets them go on their own recognizance or remands them to county jail. But there was a lawsuit, and I'm not sure where this happened, but it was somewhere in New York State where the defendant sued and basically said, I didn't have representation at the arraignment. So they won the lawsuit, and hence the mandate came down that every defendant has to have defense counsel at every arraignment. So obviously, it's very difficult to get public defenders out on holidays and in the middle of the night. Our judges do a great job in the city of Hornell, and they pretty much show up whenever you want them. So every county had to come up with a plan. And for Steuben County, what the plan was to have all arraignments go to Bath. And so it would take them out of the city courts in the city of Hornell and the city of Corning, and all the villages. So obviously that poses a huge problem for the two cities, Hornell and Corning, because in order to get those people to Bath, we have to drive them over there. So what happens when you have more than one person that you're taking over, or in the case that you have a female that you're taking over, you have to dedicate at least 2 officers to that. So those 2 officers would be out of the city. So in other words, those 2 officers, if they're not in the city, they're unable to respond to motor vehicle accidents, domestic cases. If there, God forbid, if there were ever an incident at a school, at one of the many school buildings that we have in the city, and we had officers that were out of the city, doing these transports to the arraignments, we would not have the proper coverage. And the police department, you can't force overtime. They're contractual, so you can't force overtime on them. But so what we did is, I kind of added it all up, what the cost would be, and we estimated it cost city taxpayers between $80,000 and $100,000 the first year. We would also have to buy a brand new van just to do these transports. None of which is cheap, but. So you referenced the meeting a couple weeks ago. I had the city attorney draft a resolution in opposition to this plan, and the council unanimously passed it. I then wrote a narrative on top of the resolution and attached that, and I had it sent out to the governor's office, our state senator, assemblymen, county officials, all in probably about 15 to 20 individuals, including the judge's office on the state level that where the plan originated from. So that actually triggered a conversation, and had a conversation with the judge, and I had a lengthy conversation with a representative from the governor's office, and from those conversations a meeting was born, and we had a meeting in Bath. And long story short, they put the plan on hold, and we submitted an alternative plan that will keep those arraignments here in the city of Hornell and the city of Corning, and we are very close to finalizing that plan. So hopefully, knock on wood, Brian, but I think we may have just dodged $100,000 mandate from the state.
Good to know. That's very interesting. We just learned an interesting news story from Hornell Mayor John Buckley on this morning's Newsmaker show, live with the mayor in the studio. Going to take a quick break, check the weather. We'll talk state and national issues when we get back.
Davidson's Furniture. Let Davidson's Furniture help you get your home furniture ready for the holidays. This is Mike Davidson inviting you to shop and save now on new furniture during our holiday sale. Lazy Boy recliners, Serta mattresses, England living room, Howard Miller clocks are on sale, and you can have interest-free financing on any size purchase. Not sure what to buy? Then a Davidson's Furniture gift certificate will solve that problem. New furniture and bedding for you is on sale, ready for delivery during Davidson Furniture's holiday sale.
A winter storm is on the way. For today, cloudy and breezy with light snow developing mainly during this afternoon. Inch or two by evening, high temperature 30 to 34. Tonight, more snow could be moderate at times, an additional 3 to 6. Low temperature down around 25 to 30. Then some mixed rain and snow showers coming up on Friday. Should be milder. Temperatures near or a bit over 40, mostly cloudy, low 30s at night, and there could be a few snow showers on Saturday, high temperature up between 35 and 40. Snow showers end on Sunday, mostly in the 30s then, and fair weather on Monday, clouds and sun, breezy, and about 35. This is meteorologist Gary Best.
Thank you, Gary. Back with Hornell Mayor John Buckley. Mayor Buckley, some critics maintain that the state Senate Republicans were just the same as the New York City Democrats as far as state Senate control goes. Not sure that argument's going to hold up come January when we start seeing legislation for more abortion laws, legalizing marijuana, etc. The Corning Republican Assemblyman Phil Palmisano says that when the New York City Democrats say we're going to codify Roe v. Wade, what that really means is they're going to introduce a lot more legislation. It isn't just a matter of protecting abortion in New York State, it's a matter of expanding it in New York State. That's what Palmisano says. Your thoughts on what things are coming down the pike?
Well, to address the state Senate, I know there has been criticism in the past of the Republican-led state Senate, not being conservative enough, being maybe too moderate or even too liberal. I would submit that in my view, the state Senate has really acted as a firewall. The Democrats have obviously the executive branch and the assembly. I think in recent years the Senate having that Republican leadership and having that partnership with the independents from downstate really acted as that firewall and really protected us from kind of going off the deep end legislatively in that direction. There's talk of expanding the SAFE Act, all the abortion issues that you just referenced. But those are just a few things, and it seems to me that ever since Cynthia Nixon got into that race against Governor Cuomo, that it's really Governor Cuomo has really lurched to the left on a lot of issues, and if you look at the makeup of the assembly in particular, there's a lot of downstate Democrats that are very liberal-minded. They just people in that part of the state just don't have a lot in common with us up here. It's a different way of life. We don't see things the way they do, and vice versa. So I think it's going to be very hard sledding going forward in the state legislature. So my view is the more they're on break, the more they're not in session, the better, because the less things they're mucking up.
Now, the big question at the moment, Mayor Buckley, is who's going to be the new Senate Republican leader, and they'll be the Senate Minority Leader. The two options right now for the Republicans in the state Senate when they vote tomorrow are State Senator John Flanagan, the Long Island Republican who ran the Senate for the Republicans when they had the majority, and Olean Republican State Senator Kathy Young. So we'll see what happens there. But I would think for upstate New York it would be much better to have an upstate person. And Senator Young is the only candidate right now. I was talking to a few Albany sources yesterday. They said there's other names from upstate who have been mentioned who could get support, but none of them want to run. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out tomorrow.
I think Kathy Young is she's tough, she's fierce, she's a fighter. I think she would be excellent in that role. John Flanagan, I've been in the room with Senator Flanagan numerous times, and he's not very impressive. In my mind, he's kind of a weak leader. So, I think it would be great to have a Kathy Young in that role. So, you need someone that's tough.
I would think in terms of fighting, and this may just be geographic, maybe Flanagan, if he wasn't in a downstate area, would be tougher against the New York City Democrats. Maybe it's just that he's in Long Island.
Well, he does have a different constituency. There's no doubt about that. Kathy Young comes from one of the most conservative senatorial districts you'll find anywhere in New York State. So, that does factor in. But, having been in the room with both of them, just comparing them side by side, who has those intangibles to be a leader, I would gravitate more to Senator Young.
I would think she's the better speaker, and I would think that she has a lot more ability to fight, quicker debater. From having seen long distance the YouTubes of Senator Flanagan speaking in the debate situations, and Senator Young, who is the chair of the Senate Finance Committee, grilling people like the mayor of New York City over a lot of issues, I would think Young would be the obvious choice.
Yeah, and she stands her ground. She fights for what she believes in. She's not afraid to speak her mind, and she'll go toe to toe with anyone. She believes that she's on the right side of the issue, and in Flanagan, I don't really see that. I kind of view Flanagan as more wishy-washy on issues. Doesn't really have conviction to the extent that Senator Young does. So I think change is good in this case, and I would hope that her fellow senators would support her.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one works out tomorrow. I know from reading the Albany news sites like the Spectrum News website, CapitalTonight.com, that both Senator Young and Senator Flanagan have been working the phones. So we're just going to see what happens tomorrow on that one.
Nonstop politics, even after the election.
I saw an email that says that Corning Republican Congressman Tom Reed's opponent, Democrat Tracy Matrano, was already announcing that I just got that in an email this morning that she's already announcing that she's going to run against Reed again in 2020. We have not talked about the election results yet. Your thoughts on how things went for Reed and all the other candidates?
Well, I was with Congressman Reed on election night, and obviously, the congressman won and won handily. The Republicans and conservatives and people that are right of center, I think, came out in mass for Congressman Tom Reed, and Tom's done a great job for us. I remember when we were on the verge of losing St. James Hospital, and many of the listeners know I live right across the street from St. James. I'd be coming home from work, and I can't tell you how many times I came home from work and I would see Congressman Reed either going to a meeting or coming from a meeting at St. James with some of our other elected officials, like Senator Tom O'Mara. And Congressman Reed was right in the thick of the fight to keep those medical services here in the city of Hornell. So he's done a lot for us, helping out with the Amtrak contract, and in a bipartisan effort, Congressman Reed's office working with Senator Schumer's office. So, I think he's done a tremendous job on the constituent side. He holds more town halls than virtually any other congressman across the United States. He'll go to Ithaca, he'll go anywhere in Tompkins County to hold town halls, and he has this this band of followers that follow him around to every town hall just to basically heckle him and give him a hard time. And
I've covered some of those.
Yeah, and he still does it.
I have sent video clips of those off to TV networks as well.
And what was it, a year or two ago? There was a group protesting outside of one of his district offices in the snow or rain, and he brought him inside and gave him food and drink. And
I saw that.
Let him geez, what more can you ask from a guy? But as far as Tracy Matrano, I didn't hear that she announced, but Tom beat her by 10 points or so.
It was 22,000 votes was the vote total.
So it was it was a pretty decisive victory for Congressman Reed. But I guess you could just expect a replay of what we just saw.
We've been talking with Hornell Mayor John Buckley this morning on the Newsmaker Show. Down to about 60 seconds. Anything I did not bring up?
We are expecting a snowstorm later today and through the night into tomorrow. So I would just ask residents of the city and the surrounding communities, just be careful when you're out there driving. As the plows come out, just try to get your cars off the road if you can, and just be mindful of other motorists and just stay safe.
Thank you, Mayor Buckley, for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brian. Always a fun time.